Today's the day, everybody. Got a buyer. They are on the way here to pick up the ISF. So, I didn't get what I wanted exactly, but I think I did get a good amount for it. Once the end of the video, I'll kind of say what I got and what I started at, but I don't know. It's kind of the perfect car if this is what you're looking for, modification wise, and it's just, I don't know, it's a super clean example of a 2012 ISF. So the supercharger, all that stuff's gone. All that's in here is the PPE headers. So the Swain Tech white lightning coated headers, and I think that's it. The 2014 suspension. So I found all the covers. Got the front covers, missing some clips, but you know, whatever. It's a couple cents. The black engine cover here, and then these we left covered because yeah, you don't need oily air coming back in here. So it's been a fun ride. It's been very good to me. I took it for one last drive, so I can't have any regrets. But that's it. Some new updates coming. I know some people want to see more LS430 updates. Got one in the works, so don't fret. Next video series, regrettably, I don't know if I'm going to regret this, but so I picked up this LS400 99 motor, vvti LS400 motor, and I have a rusted out LS400 with a snap timing belt and a bad motor. So my thought is I'm going to pull that out of the car and part out what's left, put this in the car, and at least verify this runs and the car can move around, and then from that point I'll begin the part out. You know, I can then sell the motor as a running motor, sell the trans as a good trans. And I had a lot of people asking about interior pieces and stuff like that. So that's coming up. We've got the LS430 update coming. Oops. The Mirage still just chilling for winter. Not much going on there, but yeah, we'll catch some video of it, hopefully driving away into the sunset, and that's it. There she goes to the sunset. Oh. Goodbye, ISF. Goodbye. So we've got the GX here and the battery, and a tow cable. We're going to move the LS400 with its flat tires and all. We basically have to move this over there and into the garage and then on the lift somehow. So next project, like I mentioned, we're going to be pulling the motor out of here just because I love torturing myself, and putting the two motors together, putting the good one back in, and hopefully getting it running so it can move under its own power. So that's my hope, and whatever I'm left with after that is kind of subject to part out. I know a lot of people were interested in the headlights, fenders, bumpers, starter, so one way or another, I paid $600 for the car, so one way or another we're making our money back. Alright, that's all good. 178K. So basically I'm gonna get some help too, so I don't crash into anything. But we're gonna go on and pull the car over there. What's up? We've got it in. We finally got the Rust Bucket LS400 into the garage. This thing is pretty rotten. Even I would not keep this thing and drive it around. Interior though, interior is awesome. It's totally awesome. There's some wear, but it's got 175,000 on it. Factory floor mats. Again, hard to find cars that have factory floor mats, but all super nice condition. So this is gonna be the next video series. Really what I'm gonna do on this is, well, you can see the fun that we had trying to get this on the lift. The e-brake was seized up, so we had to take it off and take off the rotor and all that. But what I'm going to do with this, like I mentioned earlier, is show the engine one more time. First order of business, the hood's okay too. I know for some reason people like to hit deers with these, so definitely I'll be selling everything. Selling the hood, headlights, bumper, fenders, everything. So first order of business, we're pulling this out. Then we're going to combine the parts. Like the throttle body is obviously still on this one, the starter is still here. The one in the corner is missing some stuff. But we're going to combine two motors and then drop it in. I'll document everything as usual. And we're going to cross our fingers and hope the other motor starts. Then we're going to sell any valuable pieces off of this. The heads possibly, the block, I mean anything people want to buy or that's common, just to get some money back. And then from there, I don't know who would want to buy the whole thing, because obviously you can just part it out and make more money than you would on the whole thing. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. And then the LS430, really not much to talk about. Got another video in process for that. But I don't know what's next. And on to another project, the LS400 motor. So we already got the hood off. You're gonna like my method of removing this. I actually really like it. It's kind of overkill, but you'll see at the end how we get this out. And it's not with a hoist, and it's not with a come along. It's not with a, attached to the roof or the ceiling or anything. So hood is off. Radiator here. I'm going to pull this out. The AC is still charged, so I'm debating on whether I want to pull the refrigerant out or just remove the compressor as is. It's kind of one of those things where the car might be scrapped, so I don't know if there's a point in keeping the AC charge. Most of this has been taken off because they diagnosed the motor as having a snap timing belt and then bending some valves. So really we're going to work on just the wiring looms, kind of getting these off the engine and the hoses and all that stuff, and then we'll lift up the car and then remove the drive shaft and work on the motor mounts and the stuff exhaust underneath. Once that's done, we can lift her on out and then hopefully Frankenstein two motors together, put it back in, get it running, and that's the best case scenario. So radiator is already drained and out. Basically the hoses are off, so I'm just going to pull this little hose here and get it out of here so it doesn't get damaged when we're pulling the motor. So the trans fluid, that's nice and red, so that's a good sign that the trans is good and everything is okay. The guy said the car was driving fine, everything was okay, it stopped running, so timing belt snapped. We'll take a look under here just so you can see the extent of the rust and what that does if you live in the Midwest and how that happens. But the exhaust is really bad. Split steering boot here. This is completely rotted away, and it was already fixed once here with the pipe. Imagine the resonator or whatever was here, the other secondary cats rusted out, but this whole pipe, look at this. If I pull this, it's just completely, yeah. Don't need to worry about the studs and the bolts breaking. Just have to worry about the entire exhaust breaking. So yeah, there you go. That is just complete rot. So it's actually pretty easy to pull a rear-wheel drive engine and trans, because you've just got the rear mount here and then the two engine mounts. There's a nut here for one and then a nut on the other side, and that's it. You can lift it right out. So very easy. You just want to not forget the plugs on the transmission. You want to rip those out, and then the lines are all coming out as one with the engine. So the only other thing we have to disconnect under here is the selector, and that goes into the car. So you pop that off, and then the whole thing comes out. So I'm going to finish removing this exhaust here, and I'm going to work on this rear mount, get the heat shield off, and then loosen this, and then I'm going to go ahead and loosen the nuts for the mounts, and then we're going to lower it down and continue working from a top. Just got the trans lines pinched off here. Pretty straightforward. I'm just going to worry about this AC compressor. I'm going to just unbolt it and let it hang there, and then I'm going to do some of the wiring here while it's easy to get to the alternator, and just get the wiring loom on the underside removed before we head back up top. Okay, a little bit of progress here. We've got all the alternator related wiring pulled off. The oil level, I think it is, potentially. There's a sensor on top of the pan right there. And then all the harness plugs here. We removed the nuts for the two engine mounts, 17 millimeter. What else? We loosened the trans mount here. Those are, I believe, 12 millimeter, and these are 14. We were able to take off 3 of the drive shaft bolts and nuts, 17 millimeter. Didn't have to rotate it. It all worked out where you can stick the wrench up there and it would loosen them. And then we have to remove the linkage arm, which you can either do this nut on this side right at the center console area, or you could loosen it on the trans, whichever one works better. I don't know how well that's going to come off of there. I guess we'll have to see. So once that's done, we'll go back top side. I'm not sure if any other wiring has to be detached from the bottom, but you do have to remove this. Looks like the power steering line, just two 10 millimeters that are secured into the pan area, and then this will drop down. It'll allow you to pull the engine up and out. There is some wiring here for probably, I don't know what this is for, just a bigger harness. I'm not sure what we have to remove, if anything, or if that just detaches from the top. But we don't want to rip anything out. It's probably for the trans wiring down here, which actually that all stays intact because we're removing the whole assembly as one. So that's it. Basically we'll just have to lift it up a little bit and see if anything's binding or still stuck, and then detach anything from the top. Almost there. Okay, update on the top end. We've got most all the wiring loose and disconnected. There's one more that goes down below. I have to see what this is attached to and then pull it up. Got the throttle cable, fuel line off, the heater core hose is here, the brake booster, vacuum. This harness is loose. The only thing that's a problem is the power steering hard line here. So I loosened the outer 17 millimeter bolt or nut, but I don't know if the line is seized to the inner nut or how this thing works, this bolt, but I cannot loosen that outer bolt or this outer hex anymore. It pulls and bends the line, and then the line doesn't move free from the bolt. So yeah, I'm stuck. Might have to disconnect the line from wherever this goes to the steering rack and then pull the whole thing out as one and then do it on the bench or something, because I can't get that off. Other than that, looking good. Still got the AC compressor to deal with. I'll lift the car up again and see how that's attached. But all these looms are just going in the battery box, so I don't have to worry about those. So really, we're just dealing with the power steering line, and this final bit of harness has to come up. Alright, next, you can see I got the AC compressor out, and it's tucked nicely right in front of the condenser, so that's a good spot for it. Kept the charge. I had to remove both the power steering lines. Here you see the one coming from the pump or to the pump. Actually from, it'd be high pressure because it's a hard line. It was accessible through here. First, it's just a 17 millimeter. You have to take both lines off because one's in the way of the one that you want. Other than that, it's comes right out. So it's really easy as long as you can get access. But we'll deal with the pump when the engine comes out. Figure out why this line's not coming off of it. So we don't have to take the pump off the engine right now, because we pulled the alternator, and it looks like we could pull the pump off as is. Just leave the pump, but one way or another we're still going to have to deal with that line. So I think we are just about ready to begin lifting it out. Yeah, it's a lot easier and quicker than I thought. Lower it down one more time and pull the harness. Oh, the harness. So it was kind of a pain because this last piece of harness was for the O2 sensor. So the primary O2 sensor right here at the header plugs into the harness that is kind of snaked behind these trans cooler lines. And that is what's holding all this alternator harness stuff that stays down here. But this one has to get pulled up to the top of the engine. For some reason they did not leave it down here, so it's a little bit of a pain to get this out. But that's free. And also what's nice is when you're pulling the whole thing out as one, you can deal with the trans once it comes out. A lot easier to access all the bolts, torque converter, all that. Once it's out of the car. So hopefully I didn't miss anything on the video. There's just a ton of rust, a ton of stuff all over the ground from this car, just dropping stuff everywhere. Crusty harness, plastic, and stuff falling apart. So, alright, on to the next step. We've got the load leveler in. This thing is priceless. Like, you can't really lift the engine without that. It's just so super nice to level and balance the load. And we've got the Toyota forklift. I love this thing. It's so nice to pull engines because you can articulate the forks and up and down, in and out. It's just super nice. You don't have to deal with the normal crane. So I've got the chains hooked up here. Through the engine mounts or the lift points, and then through the balancer. And then what I'll do is I'll lift it just ever so slightly, and then I'll lift up the car a little bit so I can get under, and then finalize the trans mount and drop the trans mount. When I do that, it's gonna fall down because there's no support, so I need to make sure it's supported at least from this side to get it out. So we'll see what happens. Here we go. We've got the weight of the engine up, and we're going to make sure nothing rips off or we don't lose any wiring harnesses or hoses. So I'll do that trans mount, drop that down, and then see what we can do here to get this out of here. It's important to stay hydrated and eat your nutrients so you have energy to pull an engine. So I present to you the classic pizza. So this is a thin crust. I asked for well done because sometimes it's a little marginal on cook time, but you gotta eat. You got your dairy, your cheese, your meat, your protein. Fresh mushrooms here, not canned. And this will give it the energy to finish whatever you're doing. If it's pulling an engine or working on your cars. Don't forget about your health. It's important. Could die tomorrow. So, what kind of health-related story do I have about cars? I don't know if propane... I don't think propane is dangerous. Maybe it is, but one time we were working on a car in like a apartment garage where there's like 20 garages and they're all connected on, like, the air is connected on top. And we had a propane heater running for hours, and it was like 2 in the morning by the time we were finished, and we were so tired doing a clutch job. And we're ready to pass out. I don't know if we would have fallen asleep in there, if we would have died, because it wasn't like a sealed one-car garage. But I don't know. Food for thought. One more before we get back to this car. So I was cleaning the concrete in my another garage, different place, because I wanted to, I don't know what I want to do, coat the floors, or the floors were full of oil or something, I don't know. So I put muriatic acid in there, and I was sweeping, and I got stuck in there. And I had to like jump and run through this muriatic acid cloud to get out, hold my breath. I was coughing. Yeah, that was bad. I could have died on the floor there too. So, moral of the story, take your time, be careful, know your hazards, and you'll live to see another day. So I'm going to eat some more of this delicious pizza. Stop my hands from trembling because I haven't eaten all day. And then we'll finish getting this car engine out. Okay, final moments here. Does seem to be stuck on something. Not sure what. I think it's the drive shaft still. So we got that angle. We've got the front mounts out of the subframe, but now I'm gonna check. Oh yeah, because you can see how high all this is now, obviously. So I'm gonna do a final check and just see if there's anything holding the engine on, any final wires, hoses, why it's not coming straight out. And then at that point it'll kind of pop out even more, and then you can use the stabilizer load leveler to angle it so the trans is down, and then you can kind of pull it up and out. So I'll see what's going on, what the problem is, but importantly you need to check like the wiring. Is it getting held up on the wiring harness at all? You know, we're close to the ABS pump there, so you want to clear that and not rip the line. And then this, so you get a better look at what's going on with this. I don't think the hose is supposed to turn with that inner nut. So this is my problem. I just can't get this off of here. So that's fine. We're pulling out the whole hose with the engine. Wants to play games, we can play games. And then here it looks like we do have some wiring that I forgot to look at. But we'll see where that harness goes behind the motor mount that completely ripped out of... Well, the motor mount's gone. It didn't even come out with the engine. It's still sitting in the subframe. So that is a bad motor mount. The passenger side is usually fine because the engine torques towards the passenger side. So that's fine. But other than that, yeah, I got to get back underneath and see what's going on. And then figure out this loom right here that I forgot. Or see where this, oh, this is this is probably the starter. Okay, so that comes out with this. So I just need to detach this from there, and then this starter wire can come out with the engine. And then what do we got going on underneath? Take a look and see what I have messed up. And my light's dead. So I get a new battery for the light, and we'll be back. Let's see if I can see under here what's going on. So you can see the rear mount didn't fare well either. That was just torn to begin with. But it looks like we're still stuck on the drive shaft somehow. I don't know how. I got all the bolts out. Where are we here? Terribly difficult to see. Oh, it's still stuck on the top of that thing. I don't know what's going on. I'll do one more check, I guess, and see what happened here, but it's still sticking on the drive shaft. Alright, well, I'll check it out. Okay, so I figured out the problem with the drive shaft. There's a little stub here, basically, that goes into the drive shaft, like a locator almost. So you just have to pry the drive shaft towards the rear end, and it'll pop out of there. And there is some in and out play. Okay, I don't know if that much is normal. I'll have to check and see what's going on. It seems quite excessive, like something is broken. Yep, the drive shaft's broken. Well, that's the end of that. I don't think I'm putting an engine back in this thing. Wow, okay. That's a new one. It's just kind of floating there. Alright, well, let's get this engine out of here, and then I'll cut some of this out of the way, and then I'll see what exactly happened to this drive shaft. Or how did it fall out or pull out of the... I don't know what's under here. I'd assume some kind of a U-joint or something. Yep. Another reason I love 4-post lifts is just for things like this. You can lift up the car, access underneath, leave the forklift or your crane hooked up, and now we can lower the car down, but this will maintain tension on it. I suppose you can do that with a 2-post, but I like talking about my 4-post lift. I love it. So we'll go down a little bit, see what happens here. Hopefully nothing crazy. And we'll see what's going on. Oh, there we go. So it's coming straight out, just like I had mentioned. Kind of on an angle is what you want, because you have to clear the crank pulley with the condenser. That's the most important part. You want the crank pulley to clear the condenser, and then you can whoosh, pull the whole thing out. So I'm going to adjust that little handle, and that'll make the whole assembly kind of drop down a little bit, and then we'll keep on keeping on. A little bit more progress. Now we've cleared the power steering pump again from the ABS module. I have to remove this water pipe. It's a hard water pipe. It's a 10 millimeter that goes to the coolant tank. And there's a 10 millimeter nut all the way in the back that holds the harness to the intake manifold. So I got to get that out, and we're looking good. Everything is kind of free, as you can see. Engine is separate from the car chassis. So I'll do those 2 bolts, and then we'll lower it down a little bit more. Getting there, but apparently on this car it's easier just to take the ECU harness out, but you have to take the whole dash or the glove box out. I was hoping we just disconnect the harness and leave this, but some manufacturers do it this way, where you basically remove the harness with the engine. So it looks like that's going to be easier, because some of the harness goes down the trans, and then it hooks up to the trans sensors. There's no real easy way to disconnect the harness from, you know, it's either one side or the other. You got to disconnect the trans ones and then all the clips, and then leave the harness, or you pull the harness off the ECU, which looks like what I'm going to do. So, yeah. So 5 minutes in, my stubbornness, I could have just done this to begin with, but there's a connector here. That comes out, and there's 3 ECU plugs, and that's it. This is your harness that goes into the engine bay. It's that easy. You just gotta remove the lower glove box, and then you can kind of see where it snakes up and out of the firewall, right back there. So, very easy. I just want to do things my way, and as usual, I just spent a little bit too much time doing something that didn't need to be done. So, we'll get this fed through, pulled through, and continue on in the engine bay. Okay, now over here, I'm going to pull this harness through easily, like the easiest thing we could have done. Ta-da! And then this just stays with the engine, and all your engine plugs could have stayed in. So, never going to make that mistake again. So I'll get this clip, it's hung on right here, like a bracket. Pull it off, and then we'll continue getting this thing out of here. Alright, gonna lower the car back down. I can't see anything, so hopefully it goes alright. Here's something cracking, so usually that's my signal to come check it out. Our heater core hoses are clear, so we're not going to snap our heater core off. We're okay up here. We can actually come this way more. The crank pulley is not anywhere near the condenser. But at some point we're going to angle this. Yeah, it looks like the trans is catching a little bit in the back on the firewall. So what we're going to have to do is, it's this like 1 inch, a half an inch it's catching on. I'm going to have to lower forklift down a little bit. There we go. And we need to come forward just a tiny bit, and then up. Still need to angle this down. So I'm going to crank away on this thing and get it up more, and I'll be back. Let's see what happens here. Okay, looking all right. This is just very important. We need this to clear front here. And probably straight up, it looks like. I don't know. Yeah, it's close. It should come a little bit more easier. I'm still catching in the back by the firewall. I think I need to just drop it down some more and go from there. I'm going to try lowering the car down just a little bit. We've got about 4 inches to go. And we're still stuck on something in the back. It's that trans, there's just not enough angle. Yeah, it's pretty tight. So we've cleared the course support here, so now what we can do is we need to pull this engine forward just a little bit. So a little bit of slack here. We just need it to come forward just a tiny bit before the whole thing will clear out. It's a lot easier with two people. You have to kind of go back and forth. But I'll show you in the back. Transmission, there's just a couple places you have to clear the firewall because it's a pretty close fit. First one is that this, I don't even know what this is, to be honest. It's just like a stub. I have no idea what that is. It's just a stub that goes down. Okay. And then the wiring harness, you don't want to break that, but it's just like this. Right in here, it's just a very, very tight fit between the firewall and the trans, so that's why you have to drop it down and then kind of wiggle it out. But we're getting there. We're almost there. Now I think the problem I'm having is it's hitting my... No, it's not hitting my jack. I put this jack here, this lift jack, to support the bottom of the trans, but we're well past that point. So I just got to keep on pulling and wiggling, and then eventually it'll come out. Man, that drive shaft just really sucked the life out of me. I got to pull that out and see what happened. So yeah, a little bit more. So right now the driver's side cat is catching on the power steering rack, so you have to wiggle it kind of over the rack while you lift. So I made the angle even more severe, so hopefully one more lift it'll be out, but we'll see. Shit. Hit the condenser a little bit, but still looks okay. So right now I have to basically push the motor away from the core support, lift it over the core support, and then let go. So I'm going to try doing that right now without dying. Go. So now we need to clear the core support and then kind of re-tilt the engine because we're running out of room for the ceiling, but we're pretty much totally clear now. So basically I could roll the car backwards too. That's definitely another option. Put it in neutral, or put it in neutral. It is in neutral. And then kind of get over the hump. So let me try doing that off camera. Alright, so car can be remove the chocks, wheel chocks. Now I can basically push the car backwards while I lift a leaking power steering line that's leaking everywhere. Okay, so this can come forward now and we're free. Now I just have to lift a little bit more to get over the car and then back up with the forklift. And should be good. Let's leave this right there. Okay. Alright, that's looking good. So now I just need to clear the trans from the car and then back up somehow. Get this over here. Yeah, now I can actually I can use the adjuster again, the load leveler, and then level it back out and then back on out of here. So I'm going to crank clockwise on this and then level it, and then we're done. I can pull this thing out. Well, I'm not thrilled about this. We're on the core support, but I ran out of ceiling height and I should have brought the forks lower. So I'm right at basically the height of the ceiling, but I got everything out, and I'll just continue sliding it back a little bit. Don't want to really do any more damage, but the car is junk, so it is what it is. Alright, so I just got the tail end, and the only problem, I don't want this to like swing down and hit everything going down. So I think I'll still, I don't know, figure something out, but get it out. It's been a long day. Alright, we cleared it. Now I can lower this thing down. You can see my problem. I just had way too much space here. Should have brought the forks lower because I'm almost at the ceiling. So let me lower this down and call it a day. As you can see, I should have set my chain up so it's basically that height, not all the way up already, but it worked. I did mess up the core support a little bit. Hopefully no one needs that. And the condenser also a little bit. Didn't puncture it, it just kind of messed up some fins, but again, yeah, the car's just junk. No one's gonna buy this to drive it, I don't think. Both the motor mounts are actually ripped, not just the driver's side. So that's fun. It must have been a fun ride. Goes out of here. And you can see the lines here for the power steering. They're not too bad to get with, you know, with everything in there. You just need a wrench to loosen them. So if you're changing the power steering pump line, that's supposedly that super hard one. It's not too bad. So I'm going to pull the drive shaft out and see what happened to that next. Alright, you guys ready to see this? I swear I did not do this. Oh, it just ripped out of the low-bro joint or whatever they're called in Toyota world. Oh, well, that's fun. That's fun. Let's take a peek down there. Oh, I suppose we can just shove it back in there. Worst case scenario. But that's supposed to be, I think that's supposed to be all one piece. It's just like a rubber boot on here. And, yeah, well, it just pulled out. That's so weird. How is this held in there? I'm not familiar with how this works. Unless it broke, I don't know. No, looks okay. So weird. I'd imagine this boot has some kind of a clamp or something that's supposed to hold it on, and yeah, I don't know. Let me know. I'm too tired to even look it up. But at a minimum, oh, this is cool too. The O2 sensor wasn't even, the threads are gone. It was just stuck in the hole in the pipe. And then this pipe is just here for the rear O2. At a minimum, I'd have to buy new motor mounts, which isn't a bad thing. It's, you know, those are what, 30 bucks, 40 bucks for cheap ones. And then maybe a rear trans mount to get the new engine in there. So not all is lost. And we've got some money in the cat, so you can pop these off and sell them for however much they're going for these days. I don't know, at least a couple $100, I'd imagine, a piece. I like how this is like, it looks like somebody made this in their backyard, this shift arm. There's just the arm, and then there's two weights, I guess just to make it feel more heavy and Lexus-like. You know, so there's more feel in the shifter. That's so goofy. And aside from that, I still don't know what this thing is. I have no idea. some kind of a breather, maybe? No, because there's no hole on the top. It just goes into the trans here. Another thing I've never seen in my life. So like I was saying, we could pop the trans off, put it on the new motor, get new motor mounts, and then transfer the wiring harness over, and then just drop it in as is. No cats. And then just plug everything in and hope it starts. Do an oil change on it, and then yeah, like I said, at least I can move the car around. Otherwise it's kind of a pain to push it and move it around with no engine. And then I'll break this one down. Maybe I'll do some footage on that, but pull the heads and then look at the damage, and I don't know. I'm assuming people buy these heads in the block. The block's got to be worth something to somebody somewhere. Yeah. So I think that's it for now. Part one is kind of pulling the engine out like we saw. And then if I have a part two, I will film it in the next couple days or so. But thanks for watching. I need a new oil pan too, because I left that under the lift and crushed it. But yeah, you saw some of my stupidity with the wiring harness. Wasted a lot of time there, and the forklift fiasco with that messed up. So I don't know, I'm gonna go make this video and review the footage and then go from there. So enough babbling and going on and on. Thanks. Goodbye.